Well, hello, all my gamer frangulums, and it has been a week since Borderlands came out, and it is getting absolutely destroyed by the media. Very unfortunately, I've yet to see it myself, which is bad on me for being so bad at watching stuff as a person with a channel about adaptations. It's getting destroyed on so many different levels, and people are writing articles about why it failed. We're going to go through all of that loveliness after the intro. So you know what you got to do, like and subscribe. So over here I am on the box office mojo, which is the most up to date on the actual gross of how a movie is doing domestically and worldwide. It has only made 16 million. That is absolutely fucking abysmal. I thought at least if all the fans went out to see it, or the people who love Cate Blanchett, or Kevin Hart, or Jamie Lee Curtis went to see it, it'd make money off that alone. That's what I always thought about adaptations would be like. If enough of the fans who just love the games go and see it. So this is crazy. I mean, the budget for this movie is like somewhere in the 100, 110, 120 million range. And the worst part about this is that in the game industry in general, it's people just look for doom and gloom immediately. Any kind of good news, it's overshadowed immediately by anything negative they can find. Last year was a banner year for the adaptations with The Last of Us and Twisted Metal. Five Nights at Freddy's. Last year was a banner year. The first really great year. It did crazy last year. And then this year, The Fallout Show is my favorite adaptation to date, and Borderlands being a series that I really like. It's such a bummer that it's doing so bad. Like, it's doing so bad. Like, it's not just doing kind of crappy, it's doing horrible. 16 million on a $120 million budget. That is fucking terrible. How did it tank this badly? Over here on Screen Rant, there's a bunch of articles that are kind of like people's ideas on why it did or did not do well. Maybe the marketing was off. I mean, I think people were kind of confused as to what the hell Cate Blanchett is doing in this movie. But I almost feel like people who are fascinated by that would go to see it for it to have at least a decent opening weekend, like 40, 50 million. Although Borderlands characters include some of its most iconic personalities, the movie chooses not to adapt any of the pre-existing narratives in a one-to-one way. By boring tidbits, the Borderlands is full of Easter eggs and references, but it's also a complete narrative jumble that takes away from the franchise's beloved and established stories and characters. For example, Ariana Greenblatt's Tiny Tina origins are different from Borderlands 2. I don't know what the difference is, and I'm actually not going to read that because I don't want to spoil things for myself. All because the story must serve Lilith's Blanchett arc. It's one of the many reasons Lilith's character doomed the movie before it even premiered. But the main point this Screen Rant article is saying is that Lilith should not have been the main character. Cate Blanchett's star power wasn't used correctly by Borderlands. Turning Lilith into the movie's main character was probably the most massive mistake Eli and Roth and co-writer Joe Crowley made with Borderlands, because a lot of the film's subsequent issues stem from that early decision. Surely landing Cate Blanchett, who also appeared in both pop cult hits like Ragnarok and Lord of the Rings, had something to do with Roth and Cromley's decision-making process. It's somewhat understandable, but also misguided. Tiny Tina is one of the many characters who's altered pretty drastically. I don't know Tiny Tina's backstory enough. She's in Borderlands 2, and I played Borderlands 2, but I don't remember exactly what her backstory was. Clearly, transforming Lilith into a traditional hero who carries the bulk of the narrative is a disservice to Borderlands' colorful ensemble. Evidently, creators envisioned the first movie launching a whole franchise of films, which given the source material's approach makes sense. I guess they had no fucking clue what they were thinking about. In fact, the ensemble-driven games are perfect for spin-offs and sequels. Over to a Collider article where it says Borderlands somehow made it to a domestic box office milestone. Despite a much-discussed terrible start to life at the box office, the recent adaptation of the video game classic Borderlands has managed to sneak past 10 million's a milestone. Most movies, even ones that no one wants to see, will make more than 10 million opening weekend. I'm kind of blown away it made under 10 million on an opening weekend. I feel like almost any movie it could make, just based on the fact that it's new. Following a steady decline in daily ratings, the movie has managed to take its domestic total past the 10 million mark, something that once looked to be easy based on the movie's IP and impressive budget. For a major project like this to flop this spectacularly is quite impressive, especially considering the movie arrived after big hitters such as Inside Out 2 and Despicable Me 4 had all but finished their theatrical run. Despite the continued domination of Deadpool and Wolverine and a surprise hit it ends with us. Borderlands was perhaps the biggest film to be released as of August 9th, but severely struggled to resonate with audiences. Perhaps because of the many years of delays the project underwent, I don't see how that would affect anything. In August 14th, just 5 days after it premiered, Borderlands took in just over 500,000, which is a damning total for a big budget production. The film also looks to continue its decline as other major movies arrive and word continues to spread. Borderlands is considered one of the worst releases of this summer. Sadly, despite including an eye-catching ensemble cast, nothing could save a troubled production from inevitably disappointing the heavy expectations of a fan base used to technically masterful projects. Yes, fan base of the game. A lackluster story and allergy to nuance has made Borderlands failures spread like wildfire, with many critics citing a lack of ambition as a particular sticking point. One such critic was Taylor Gates, who in a review for Collider said, Borderlands is ultimately a fun, if flawed and rather unmemorable summer blockbuster. So over here on MovieWeb, they have an article, and some parts of it are already been mentioned in previous articles, but this one part I wanted to highlight. If you look back on all the adaptations that have done well, like The Last of Us is literally just game one. There's essentially almost everything from the games, a couple changes here and there. It's pretty much the exact same story, just like Super Mario. Plus, it even looks like a game. Fallout, which is like the story of what could be a game. They all followed the game way more, and they all did well. So that's not a coincidence. Given the success of the game series, one would think that a straightforward adaptation of the game would be relatively easy. But continuing a trend that has been a mistake when these films are given the big screen treatment. Craig Mazin, who is the showrunner for the aforementioned Last of Us, he actually wrote the original script. And I'm sure his original script was probably better because Mazin is an actual gamer, which is why he wanted to do The Last of Us, because he knows the games and how good they are. I listen to his podcast he does with John August, and he brings up video games a lot. Back to the article. It's possible that the original script by Craig Mazin was significantly better, but what became in rewrites was so far from his initial vision that he had his name removed from the project. Good for him. It's like he knew it was going to be a bomb before it even came out. This is a good point here. They're saying that Roth used the actual IP to make his own version of Mad Max, Escape from New York, or Star Wars. Ross answered during a red carpet interview with the Hollywood Reporter at the premiere is very telling as to what may have gone wrong here. Roth mentions wanting to stay true to the game's visual aesthetic and feel, but mentions that he wanted to toy with things like casting and the story to create a fun popcorn vibe. So while many of the characters that fans have grown to love may look like their video game counterparts, for example, their role in the film deviates significantly from the source material to fit into the story Roth wanted to tell. There's nothing wrong with creative liberties, but the project is no longer made for the fans when the story becomes completely different from the material that inspired it. Too long. Roth's biggest issue, which might not feel like one at first, is that the characters in the film are being pulled from across different installments of the game, which means origins and character details are changed to fit into a new narrative. It's like combining different parts from different parts of the games. I can't remember now if Roland was in other ones, but I know he's in the first Borderlands, and Tiny Tina isn't in the first one. She's in the second one. Jamie Lee Curtis's character is in some of them, maybe not all of them. But they did, mix and mash some things. For instance, the Vault Hunters that make up the team in the first game are decidedly different. The roles of Lilith and Roland are depicted in the movie and come from the first game, but Mordecai and Brick are absent from the movie adaptation because, despite being featured as Vault Hunters in the first game. So I pretty much just almost kind of said what they just said because I didn't continue to read on because I have ADD. Oh my god, see, this is what I just said. I think that loud. And I didn't pre-read the article because, like I said, I have ADD. Tiny Tina wasn't in the first game and is supporting players in Borderlands. See, I just said that. See, I know this shit before they even said it. That's how fucking brilliant I am. The character has seen a rise in popularity, and including her here was likely done to tap into that. Her bond in the game is with the character of Brick, who is not featured in the movie. The bond in the film comes in form of a connection with Craig. Compared in the games, Lilith is 22 years old in the game, but she is portrayed by Blanchett, still as beautiful as ever at 25. Considering considerably older than her counterpart. Tiny Tina is age appropriate, but is so integral to the character's story that Roth likely felt that couldn't be changed much. Yeah, the one thing he thought he couldn't be changed. Roth actually comments on the age differences, and it says here, it wasn't about changing age. I'm reading the script and I'm not thinking about the game. I'm thinking about the movie. I'm thinking, oh, this person is a certain age in the game. Tiny Tina needs to be a certain age, but for everyone else, you're talking about the best actor in the world. You go right to Cate Blanchett, and she said, so once you have Blanchett, I went to Jack Black, Jamie Lee Curtis, la la la. And again, Cate Blanchett basically said yes because she was going stir crazy being stuck home during COVID. Next time you want a really good actor in your movie, wait for COVID to happen. Roth's failure to consider the game is the core problem here, which can be a big slap in the face to the fans who have played and loved Borderlands. The changes disappoint fans as they already know that the characters are supposed to be like and have grown to love them, only to see them drastically change in the big screen format. Video game adaptations have ignored the source material before. Uncharted, despite being a success due in large part to Tom Holland, made significant changes, most noticeably to the character of Drake. To secure casting Holland, the character was made younger in the film. It's a change that might work best for the new direction of the film, but it's one of those changes that has fans asking why. It should have just been Nathan Fillion. Like, come on. Nathan Drake is literally just Nathan Fillion. The fact that they didn't even consider him for a second is kind of mental. Mark Wahlberg was originally going to be Nathan Drake like 10 or plus more years ago because this movie has been in development hell for a long time. But Wahlberg was attached to play Nathan, but now he got too old, so then he got playing Sully. But I mean, Wahlberg isn't that much older. He still could have been Drake. I don't know. I still think it would have been better if he was an older guy, at least in his 30s or late 30s. It's a change that might work best for the new direction of the film, but it's one of those changes that a fan's asking why. Is it a necessary change? Sure, these adaptations intend to sell tickets and big at the office. But alienating the game audience by altering such things also cuts into box office potential. Whoever rated this on Screen Rant, they just talking about how much it sucks, and then right underneath, it's like, oh yeah, but we gave it a 3.5 out of 5. What the F? Yeah, so it's unfortunate. Borderlands is getting lambasted, and it's unfortunate, but I have still yet to see the movie, and that's bad on me. I have a game adaptation channel, and I'm not seeing these movies the day they come out, but I want you guys to tell me what you think about any of this, if you've seen the movie, and is it as bad as they say? Maybe it's not as bad. Maybe when I see it, I'll like parts of it. I don't know. I think I will. You guys, please let me know what you think down below. But also don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to keep gaming.